Welcome back into the mental game, where this week's guest is UConn head coach Dan Hurley.
I had one drive home in particular one night, Route 440 in Jersey City, and it's like, there's a pole, like that was, really, really tough as you're, really, really in some bad places, and just wondering, if it's worth the suffering.
And in this episode, Coach Hurley opens up about his basketball career, both playing and coaching, as he just won back-to-back championships as the head coach at UConn. But he also talks about his own mental health struggles, battling anxiety, panic attacks, and even suicidal thoughts. All of that and so much more in this amazing conversation. But first, I want to tell you about Man Therapy. And guys, I am talking to you. Look, we have to be comfortable talking about our mental health and being vulnerable. And that's why I want you to go to mantherapy.org today to find amazing tools and resources to take the best care of your mental health. But now it is time for the latest episode here on The Mental Game with Coach Hurley. Welcome back into the mental game. As you can see, I got a very special guest sitting next to me, back-to-back national champion head coach of the UConn Huskies, Dan Hurley. Thanks so much for coming on the mental game, Coach.
Appreciate you, man. Great to be on here.
And I'll say off the bat, who day, since we're both Bengals fans. You got to be the roar of the jungle a couple weeks ago.
I blew it.
That wasn't your fault. It was a tough game. But
it wasn't my fault, but you walk away feeling at least partially responsible.
I was told that you put that up there with like going to the White House and winning the title. Would you say that?
It was. I mean, that was because we got in the night before, and the Bengals were awesome. They kind of let us take a tour of the stadium. We went on the field. We caught a couple passes, and then just to be around there on game day too, because that's my team. That's a team I love the most.
Yeah,
besides UConn.
Of course. I want to get into that here in a little bit. But, I mean, your career, you live and breathe basketball from your dad being this just incredible coach, winning title after title, you and your brother getting to get to the top of the game as well. Like we said, the last 2 years winning the title here at UConn. But the first thing I start with everyone is, what does mental health mean to them? And it's a unique question because we all go through our own journeys. We experience it at different times. But I ask you the same thing. What does mental health mean to you?
Oh, it means work. I think for me, it's just work. It's working on yourself. It's taking care of yourself. It's doing things, coming up with routines, coming up with behaviors, prioritizing things that truly matter. I think it's a combination of the right relationships and reading the right things, listening to the right things, doing the right things to take care of your mental health, your emotional wellness, and then obviously a lot of how you feel mentally and emotionally is connected to your physical state too. Right. So it's complicated.
For you being a basketball coach, and I just came from watching your practice, it's loud, it's energetic. It's not the same guy I'm sitting down with right now having a casual conversation with, but basketball is something that you've been around your whole life. It's intense, and you love it that way, and that's why you're a winner. But on the mental health side of things, there's a lot of pressure in it. Yeah. When did you first ever think about your mental health? Can you remember it being a priority for you at a young age? Or?
Well, I started to really suffer and struggle a lot in maybe later in high school, when being the younger Hurley, older brother, super successful, father is legendary, and you're struggling, and it's and you're being reminded of that in so many interactions, or articles, or different people, just hearing those comments, you're not as good as your brother, you're the third Hurley, just those things kind of, began to kind of eat away at me
Yeah.
as a high school player, and it got significantly worse through college.
When you were playing in high school, is that when you first started to feel that pressure of having to live up to those expectations in the Hurley household?
Yeah, I remember going to a camp, and it was an All-American camp, and I didn't play well, and I remember reading the scouting report on me from Hoop Scoop, and it was like, Dan Hurley, the political pick, the nepotism pick, for the camp, and that one that set the stage for a lot of insecurity and a lot of just struggling with how I viewed myself and just playing that comparison game. From there on out was a miserable experience.
Was there any other option but basketball for you? Did you fall in love with it naturally just because you were around it so much as a kid?
I always loved the game. I just didn't always love the way the game made me feel when I played it. The aftermath of it, if the performance, some perfectionism, but obviously this comparison loop that I had in my brain was just doing a lot of damage to me. But I've loved all sports. I've loved baseball and I love competing.
For you, when you ended up starting to battle that towards, maybe the middle end of high school, as you're starting to get recruited, you went on to play college ball at Seton Hall. Is that when those panic attacks first started in high school?
Not really until college, where things got intensified in terms of the scrutiny and the fan pressure and all of those things. At the end of my high school career, I was kind of a late bloomer. So, I had grown a lot from the middle part of my career. I'd grown to 6'2". I was player of the year in New Jersey, state champs. I was the best player in the state. I was a highly recruited player. So I was going into college with some pretty good momentum, but the struggles early on at Seton Hall and, whether it was playing in that media market, and just a bunch of things came together for the perfect storm to put me in the blender.
Did you feel like later into high school, going into college, did you talk to your dad or brother or anyone about those feelings? Because back then, look, I'm, in my 30s, we didn't talk about it all through school. Did you talk about it at all with anyone when you were feeling it in that moment?
There weren't coaches at that point, I think, or maybe I didn't just have access to like a holistic approach to developing young people as all around human beings that are pretty centered, their academic pursuits, the mental health, the emotional well-being, relational, your spiritual side. There just wasn't a whole lot of emphasis on that with your coaches. You saw your coaches from 3 to 5 or from 3 to 6 for practice. You saw them at games. Then they played very little role in your life beyond that. So obviously coaching has advanced a lot. Obviously we focus a lot more now on the human being and on the quality of their all-around experience, because we know that better, more well-rounded, happier people are going to make much better players.
Sure. Well, back then with you, did you end up holding all that in and bottling it up, and that ended up making it worse throughout?
Oh yeah, I was I just suffered and struggled, and it manifested itself in staying out late and in drinking a lot and just not really caring about school and not going to class and not giving my best there and not being focused on my relationship with God. And I was just, I was a mess, and it manifested itself in very unhealthy ways. And it led itself to me bottoming out as a player and kind of imploding in a game early in my junior year where I just had no other choice but to stop playing basketball, because I hated it and I despised it, and I couldn't function anymore. I just didn't think I could do another day of the sport.
When you look back at that moment, when you do take a step back, was it your junior year, you said, at Seton Hall? Was that your rock bottom? Was that the darkest moment of your life, realizing that you had this thing that you always wanted, and all of a sudden it's not what you dreamed of, and you have this depression, the anxiety, the panic attacks. Was that your rock bottom?
I think so. I think you experience it at other times, maybe not to that extreme. You look at getting fired at Rutgers University and being having a young family and having no clue how you're going to take care of the people you love. Right. And then you have the moment at Seton Hall. That was the darkest. You get brought to some bad places, since then, but that was the one that was, literally the shame of not being able to face teammates, friends, family, not being able to leave your room, not wanting to eat, not able to sleep. Just dangerous times, man, dangerous times. And, just a couple days of that, like serious, self-loathing to the point of you're just not sure where to turn for help.
Did you struggle with suicidal thoughts in those days?
I mean, I would say around that time, there was definitely times driving home, post leaving the Seton Hall team. You go to see a psychiatrist with my mother at the time, and you get diagnosed with depression, and you're being told that you need a medical solution to that. And that hits you pretty hard, and you decide against it, and you're looking for a different way to health or to recovery for yourself there. But shortly after that, when I was able to pry myself from my dorm room at Seton Hall and return to Jersey City to try to rebuild my life, I had one drive home in particular one night that was, really, really tough as you're, really, really in some bad places, and just wondering, if it's worth the suffering.
I share with you before we started rolling that I had, battled those suicidal thoughts. I mean, I don't even recognize the person I was 2 years ago, and I had, things that I had dreamed of working, with the Bengals, and they're going to the Super Bowl, and people had no idea that every night I'm walking home drunk, in downtown Cincinnati across that bridge thinking like, hey, like you said, it's not worth it. Like, and no one has any idea. Did you feel alone in those moments that no one knew besides yourself how bad you were struggling?
Yeah. And no one understands, like no, and it's hard to explain, just emotional pain and suffering. It's like the equivalent of like tearing your Achilles, only on an emotional level or a mental level, like where you're broken and you need help, and you don't know who to talk to or what to talk about, and you just don't know that first step in the road back.
Yeah.
And you're just completely lost.
That drive, do you remember where you were going? What was going through your head during that?
Yeah, I was driving from South Orange. I was driving through Newark, back to Jersey City, and you're driving over the bridge to 440 and Route 440 in Jersey City, and it's like, there's a pole. The shame, the embarrassment, the feeling of failure. The emptiness, because at that time it's like, like your whole identity is wrapped up in basketball player, and that's going incredibly bad for you at a level that you couldn't imagine, and everyone else in your family is experiencing incredible success and popularity and fame, and you're a failure, and that's some bad stuff for 20-year-old.
How were you able to take that rock bottom drive where you thought about maybe taking your own life and turn and be able to help yourself? Did you finally reach out to maybe someone than just mom, the psychiatrist, or how were able to bounce back?
It was getting home to Jersey City, and it was being honest with my mother and father. And my dad was like always the toughest person I ever have known. I mean, so and it was tough to have that conversation back then with men in Jersey City, New Jersey, where we pride ourselves on the macho toughness of never showing weakness. So that was a tough thing to get there, to communicate those things to your dad and to your mom. And then my brother's situation, really, his accident, as horrific as that was for him, as devastating as it was for our family, just that moment played a big role in my recovery in terms of allowing me to get some perspective around this basketball thing.
Well, you mentioned the moment with your dad and mom. I speak around the country to high school kids, college kids all the time, and I never leave out that conversation I had with my mom and dad, which is at 28 years old. I said, look, you don't know this, no one knows this, but I've wanted to kill myself for the last 3 months. I need help. I don't know how to live. Mom, super supportive. My dad, same way as your dad. I don't know if it was the exact words, but my dad's exact words were, man up, tough shit, figure it out. And I'm on the phone with my dad telling him I don't want to live anymore. And I always tell people, if people truly love and care about you, they will help you. They might say the wrong thing at first. My dad certainly did. They might not know how to help you the best, but if they truly love and care about you, they will help you. And so I think you sharing that conversation with your dad obviously can help other people that have been in that situation. Did you see your guys' relationship grow from that moment? I mean, I know you guys were always close, but when you offer that vulnerability, and me and my dad, it took us a while to get back to that.
Yeah.
But we're there now where, we check in on each other more than ever.
Yeah, that changed. That was a huge moment for my relationship, with my parents. My dad, you grow up in Jersey City, and the way to build a life for yourself, out of that environment is through excellence in something.
Right.
Either you become a great student or you become, great in some type of activity in sports. So yeah, I mean, it was tough for me to differentiate between, coach and father, which was probably a little bit more of a me issue than a him issue. But in my mind, coming home and opening up, changed our relationship from, what it felt like at a lot of times, coach / father son to straight father son.
Yeah.
And it took some courage for me to be able to have that conversation, because it would have been a lot easier for me to just hide and to continue to ruminate and spiral in a much worse way.
The more you talk, the more you can help yourself and the people around you. I think, the sooner you talk to your parents, your friends, now, your players, your coaches, you open up that conversation, the sooner you can help each other. You started to help yourself, and then you were able to get into the coaching field, after going back, to Seton Hall. And now, I mean, going through that journey, what was it like getting into coaching, being able to see, get through those first couple of jobs, and obviously you get an opportunity like here? Am I remembering this correctly? You almost didn't take this job.
Yeah,
I don't want to remind you of that, but I've heard you say it. I mean, It's been a pretty cool journey for you to look back and go, wow, I almost gave this whole basketball thing up. Now look where I'm at.
Yeah. I just, I think I found a way to just kind of follow my heart in the places I've put myself. It hasn't always been, about like chasing, career things. I probably stayed in high school, coached there longer than most people would have, based on the opportunities that I had pretty early on at St. Benedict's.
Yeah.
But the place was a very, very comforting, healthy place for me to learn how to become a coach and become a leader, and you develop those relationships with your players. So for me, coaching has just felt so natural because of how my relationship to basketball was as a player. There were times in my career where I was the best player and was incredibly confident. So my ability to relate to my best players on my roster, I think is there. I also, when you've been a struggling player that is bottom of the barrel with his confidence, his mindset, how he feels about himself. I could relate to the struggling players on my team that are really going through it.
Yeah.
So I think it just gives me unique powers in terms of the relationships that I could build and my ability to kind of, guide my players through the good times, the bad times. And then I'm just hyper aware of how my players are going through their career, going through their life in terms of this holistic approach that they need to be taking. I'm very dialed into, the spiritual aspect of their lives. What do their relationships look like? Are they, who are the people that they hang out with the most? Are they in a healthy relationship, with their girlfriend? Are they getting the right amount of sleep? Are they eating clean? Are they reading the right things? Are they buying into the meditating? And are they just doing the things that are going to absolutely make them feel their best? Because I know how important basketball is to them.
Well, it's so important to them, and you realize it because you feel the exact same way, and you probably, I'm just guessing, don't want them to go through those same struggles that you went through. You want them to learn from you, right?
And I still feel that way.
Yeah.
And you'll always have a need to continue to work on yourself and to continue to do things to make you feel your best.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you got to have the right priorities, and you've got to obviously strive for achievement in our pathological pursuit of championship excellence here. It's pretty significant, but I'm able to kind of flip that switch when practice is over, when game is over. And do the things and have the relationships, that kind of fill my cup, and I'm able to keep this thing in perspective and being happy, to me and in my life, whether we've won the championship or lost it. I'm always looking for better ways to help myself feel better. And then I'm always trying to help my players with those same things.
You said the word championship. I'll add an S to that since you just won back-to-back championships here at UConn.
Yeah.
I know you get this question all the time. How different did it feel to finally get there? Because it's what you dream of as a coach, as a player, to win it now twice. How did that did you feel accomplished? Did it fill that cup that you were talking about?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I'm a lot lighter.
Okay.
A lot lighter.
Practice I watched was light?
No, right now. No, that will never change.
Yeah.
That will never change. I think we take the court with championship level confidence, extreme confidence, but we work like we've absolutely accomplished absolutely nothing, like we're total nobodies. And I think that's the way you want to do it if you want to stay at the top. But yeah, I mean, for me, basketball has been torturous at times. It's been a struggle to find those elite moments, those moments where you could get all the way to the top of the mountain, top of your profession, and that certainly not coming for me until I was 50. That's a long time. I mean, I probably got into this basketball thing on a serious level, all in commitment, probably at the age of 12 to 15 years old. So it took me basically 35 years to have that moment, for myself in the sport, where you could truly be comfortable in your own skin, that you're elite, your championship level, and all the work has been worth it.
Well, I think it's important to point out too, and you've been very open and honest with your mental health journey throughout coaching, but even when you get to that mountaintop, it's not all sunshine and rainbows and confetti and trophy celebrations. I think there's a specific story with you and your wife at the New York Stock Exchange where you struggled maybe with a panic attack with all this. I know I'm putting you in another interview now, but with that media attention and your life changing, taking another step up. I mean, what was that? We talk about rock bottoms and roller coasters. What was that moment like for you?
Yeah, you're bringing up a lot of things.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
I appreciate your vulnerability.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I think it's like this weight off your shoulders. So like when the articles get written now, it's like, it's not son of, it's not brother of, it's the great Hurley family in basketball. And then it's back-to-back champ. So like that's some heavy weight that's gone. But yeah, I mean, that actual championship feeling and the fulfillment of that disappears so fast that it's pretty stunning.
Yeah.
And then you find yourself emotionally in a rut, or in a kind of with a little bit of a bankrupt situation there, and because you've now realized that the accomplishment is not it. It's you love the impact you have on the people around you, the team, the staff, the community at UConn, our fan base. Like you realize that like that's the driver for you. You love hard work. You love being a part of a group of men that work incredibly hard to strive for something. So yeah, I mean, you learn about that thing that so many successful people tell you is that ultimate accomplishment fades real quick, and it's about having a sense of purpose in your life that matters.
What were you searching for, you think, that you still didn't get when you won championships?
Can I go back to the stock exchange? Yeah,
I know. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm not a therapist. I
know.
I try to dive into it. It just, there's a lot of chapters there.
Yeah, I couldn't do. I was like, I got to this point where a season ends. You're physically tired. You're emotionally drained. You just accomplished something that's been this like Charlie Brown analogy. You're trying to kick the football,
Right.
And your whole career in basketball, they're just yanking the football, man. And you finally have the moment. You've got all these requests for your time, and you finally done it. And you're, and then finally, I got to that stock exchange, and it was like this incredibly cool thing you're about to do. But I would kind of miss the players, and I was just a little bit overwhelmed, and I couldn't get my breathing under control. And I found my wife and just kind of stepped off stage quick. And, I do a lot of breath work. So I was able to kind of pull myself together and find a way to enjoy it.
For you now to take care of it and know it, that it's been something you've battled for, 30 years off and on, and tried to figure out what works best for you. What does help? I know you meditate, you journal, obviously your basketball, living and breathing every single day, but what helps you when you find yourself maybe feeling, I don't know if you get nervous before a game, or, you have a lot of stress on a day like this where we're doing interviews after a long practice.
I'm type A. I mean, I'm serious type A, I take a unique approach. It's not, it's an intense experience, the way we push for it. So I know that about myself. So it's like, it starts for me, and it's been an accumulation really over the years, through mentors and through, just looking into the self-help space for podcast books on human performance or mental health, where I've come up with, I think, routines and practices that have kind of led me to, I think, a very good place. And it starts the night before, with just prioritizing sleep and making sure that my day starts the night before. I wake up, I go right to my prayer for about a half hour of Bible reading and reading scriptures and my prayer to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And then I'll go to my mindfulness practice and my journaling and my meditation, and I'll work my Calm app to get myself centered. And then I'll go hit the exercise real hard for an hour and really get after it. And I've now had some serious wins before I get to the facility and hit the sauna, and then hit the cold plunge. And then, boom, I'm starting my day at 9:00. I've had, maybe 90 minutes to 2 hours of just working on myself, these wins, these things to create momentum, coming off of a devastating loss the night before. I have these routines that get me up out of bed when I feel down. I just got my ass kicked at Seton Hall in the Big East opener, and I don't want to get out of bed because I'm in a bad way.
Yeah.
But I've got these mechanisms in place that kind of get the body moving, get that mind centered, and start creating momentum in the day.
You mentioned that contrast therapy of going from the sauna to the cold plunge. I just did that for the first time last week.
Yeah.
It is incredible.
Incredible.
It wakes you up. You feel great. I need to get up and do more in the morning like you are. I mean, I don't know how you're a machine the way you do stuff.
And that is a game changer. And breath work is a game changer, and yoga and massage therapy and even float tank. I found the float tank to be to be a game changer for me. That the magnesium, and then just that hour in there of total mindfulness. You don't even want your phone, and what that does for your sleep and your calmness. You never know it by what I look like on the sideline. But I went through really, really horrible pregame jitters, which was making it unbearable for me, especially early on in my coaching career. So I've had to kind of come up with these different ways to kind of get that edge off game day or otherwise to put me in the state that I could be successful.
In this conversation, both Coach Hurley and I have both talked about our own mental health struggles and that feeling of feeling alone. But guess what? You are never alone. Especially as men, we feel like we can't be vulnerable. We can't talk about our mental health. And if we do, it's a weakness if we do share how we're feeling. And so that's why I want to tell you about man therapy. And guys, I am talking to you because look, we have to be comfortable talking about our mental health. Coach Hurley opening up about his own emotions, struggling when playing, even battling those panic attacks and suicidal thoughts. But guess what? He reached out for help, started going to therapy, and took the best care of his mental health. And I want you to do the same exact thing for you. So go to mantherapy.org today, where you can take their 18-point head inspection. It's just a quick 2-minute test that asks you basic questions about your everyday life to help you the best with your mental health. Again, that is mantherapy.org. Suicide can be tough to talk about, but that's why the Happiness Project is helping break the stigma. After losing their classmate Nick, his friends knew they had to do something to help save lives. So, the Happiness Project was born, a clothing brand to raise awareness for mental health and suicide prevention with t-shirts and hoodies to start a conversation and let people know they are not alone. To learn more, follow @Happiness Project on social media and use the code MENTALGAME at happinessproject.com for 15% off your first order. Well, I appreciate your vulnerability. I know we only have like 2 or 3 minutes left. I want to go through some quick hitter fun questions. We mentioned the Bengals off the top. Yeah. So how did the Bengals fandom start? Your dad and brother had teams already and you wanted to be different, is that right?
Middle child syndrome. So they love the Cowboys. And so I had to find an opposite team. I love tigers is one of my favorite animals.
There you go.
So the stripes, Boomer Esiason, left-handed quarterback. First game I ever saw, Freezer Bowl, and I had a Mean Joe Green moment with Big Max, an offensive lineman, Max Montoya. I had a Mean Joe Green moment in the sporting goods store with him where he bought me a Bengal hat when I was a little kid.
That's incredible. I know his daughter, Allison, pretty well. So you guys got to meet each other at the game?
We did. We met each other at the game. And the weird thing is, like, I know it was an offensive lineman. I've always assumed it was Max Montoya. And he's not sure if it was him, and I'm not sure. But I know it was a Bengal lineman.
Yeah. Well,
I know it.
I know you and Zach have traded numbers and texts and got to meet each other. I don't think I've told this story really on the show before. But when I went through all my stuff, a lot of players reached out. But Zach and his wife, Sarah, reached out to me as well and just like made sure I was good, checked in on me. That friendship that you've had with him, what's that been like to just kind of learn and grow with another coach that's trying to win championships?
I mean, we could all relate, the pressure at this level of sports as a leader. Obviously it's this is a pretty big business. We got a lot at stake. We can relate to the pressure we feel, not only on the job, but having families that are kind of pulled into this thing. So yeah, I mean, he sent me right before a national championship game out in Houston, before the first championship. He sent me like a care package of Bengals stuff with like a Jamar Chase autographed football,
nice,
and some Bengals swag and a good luck note. And then since then, now we've been kind of supporting each other and developed a little relationship.
Great guy, great family, great fan base. Least and favorite coach to go against NCAA wise.
So many great coaches. I think.
I mean, least in like they're fiery, they play you hard. Not that you hate the guy.
Yeah. No, I mean I don't like most of them, but no,
you can give names if you want. We'll make this really.
I've always Tom of current active coaches. For me, like Tom Izzo has always been a coach I've admired and modeled myself after. Of the current coaches.
Yeah, really incredible guy. I mentioned that I had worked with Mick and his team. I forgot to tell you, Mike Rayfelt. I know Mike pretty well. His wife and I were sports anchors together. So
Mike's one of the best in the business, if not the best in the business. And I think like me, I always assume I could be maybe a football type of coach. I think those are most of the coaches that I like to study.
Yeah,
is football coaches and European soccer managers are kind of the ones I look at to try to learn from.
Well, you can definitely tell with the bank you're talking about and what you pull from. Last question I'll ask, maybe there's a young player that's struggling in college that listens to this, or maybe someone that wants to be a coach one day, advice if they've gone through something that you have and want to get to where you're at.
Yeah, just, one, you got to acknowledge it, and you've got to bring it to the people that love you and have the strength to do that. And then there's just so many ways out there that you can utilize to feel better. Like there's a way out of it. Like this, the amount of like knowledge and information now about how to improve your mood or how to deal with anxiety, or to get yourself to a happier, more a better mental state. There's just so much out there that you can improve yourself with. But it's work, and it's going to be trial and error. It's also okay if you don't peak when you're 18 or peak when you're 25. It's okay to just continue to climb the mountain. Your great successes in life might not come until you're 50. It's okay to keep learning, keep developing, keep pushing, and keep working on yourself.
I'll try to peak when I'm 50. I got like 18 years to go, so I appreciate the heads up on that.
Keep pushing.
Coach Hurley, thanks so much for coming on the Mental Game. Really appreciate it, brother.
My pleasure, man.
We'll see everyone right back here next week. And I love that conversation with Coach Hurley. He is just such a genuine good guy. It's hard not to root for him. The UConn Huskies going for a three-peat in college basketball this year. I'm a Cincinnati Bearcats fan, but besides the Bearcats, I'll be rooting for Coach Hurley and the Huskies. Coming up next week, another surprise guest right here on the Mental Game. Your one hint, a future NFL Hall of Famer. We'll see you right back here next week on the Mental Game.